The stars above Aurelian Prime shifted. At first it was a ripple on sensors, a harmless gravitational quiver. But the disturbance deepened until alarms screamed across the council station. Warships in orbit scrambled into formation, their crews convinced an armada was about to burst through slip space. Instead, one ship emerged. It slid into real space with predatory silence, a triangular wedge kilometers long, its armored hull swallowing starlight. No banners, no fleet escort, just a single vessel dwarfing everything around it. Its engines burned a cold white, steady and unyielding. Silence filled the council chamber. Dozens of alien species stared at the live feed projected above them. "That can't be right," hissed a Urix delegate, mandibles twitching. The gravitational signature was larger than that. That is no ordinary warship. It's primitive metal, scoffed the Lidhari noble, though his frilled crest trembled. Some frontier race mimicking old designs. But no one could look away. The ship was too massive, too deliberate. Then came the name stamped along its armored spine in stark white script. ECS Leviathan. The chamber doors opened. Commander Elias Kane walked in, flanked by two guards in matte black uniforms. He was human, pale skin, dark hair streaked with gray at the temples, eyes sharp and unblinking. The council had expected a desperate envoy begging for recognition. Instead, they saw a soldier who carried himself as if he had nothing left to fear. He reached the podium without hesitation. His voice carried across the chamber, calm and controlled. "Representatives of the Galactic Council, I am Commander Elias Kane, Captain of the Earth Commonwealth ship Leviathan. Humanity has been absent from your affairs for generations. That ends today." Murmurs spread. Some laughed outright. Others whispered nervously. The council chair, a venerable Sanaf whose kind had ruled empires before Earth lit its first city, leaned forward. "Humanity," he repeated with a note of disdain. "The scattered primates? You survived extermination by hiding behind your star. What claim have you here?" Kane's expression didn't change. "We claim nothing. We state a fact. Earth is not prey. We are not a colony to be divided, nor a client to be bought. From this day forward, humanity stands as an equal. You will treat us as such." A ripple of derisive laughter rolled through the chamber. The Phyrexian ambassador, a scale brute armored in ceremonial plates, rose to his full height. "One ship does not make a people mighty. We have burned fleets greater than yours in a single campaign. Do you intend to frighten us with a relic you hammered together in secret?" Kane's gaze cut to him. "It's not fear I intend. It's memory. For centuries you dismissed us. You called us weak. You culled our colonies and thought we would forget. We did not. While you fought your endless wars, humanity rebuilt in silence. This ship is not a relic. It is our answer." The word struck like a hammer. Some delegates shifted uneasily. Others scoffed louder, unwilling to give ground. The chair raised a clawed hand. "Commander, you bring threats where none are welcome. The council maintains peace. What purpose has this intrusion, if not intimidation?" Kane leaned forward, his voice lowering until every translator strained to catch it. "Peace? You call this peace? Whole sectors burn under Dominion raids. Slavers cross neutral space unchecked. And you call us an intrusion?" For the first time, silence fell without protest. From afar benches, the Valen delegate, thin insectoid, wings folded tight, whispered just loud enough to be caught on record. "If they built that ship in secret, what else have they built?" The word spread like contagion. Doubt crept into the chamber. Before the chair could respond, a shrill alert sounded. A council security officer hurried forward, screen in hand. His voice shook. "Breaking report. The Phyrexian Dominion has mobilized a battle group. They are en route to Sol System. Estimated time to engagement, less than 12 hours. The Phyrexian ambassador hissed, mandibles flaring. "Lies!" But his denial was drowned out by the uproar. Dozens of species shouted at once, some demanding intervention, others urging the council to let the humans be slaughtered before they upset the balance. Kane stood unmoving. He let the storm rage until the chair finally hammered for silence. The Sanaf fixed him with cold, ancient eyes. You see? Your arrogance draws annihilation. The Dominion will erase your people, and nothing we say will stop them. Kane's reply was steady, stripped of any pretense. Then let them come. Earth has been waiting. Gasps rippled through the chamber. The Council's feed still projected the Leviathan above the station, orbiting like a silent predator. Its surface bristled with weapon ports, layered armor, and engines designed not for show but for war. It looked less like a vessel and more like a declaration carved in steel. Aliens who had once mocked humans as scattered tribes now felt the stirrings of something colder, dread. Kane stepped back from the podium. You've dismissed us long enough. You will not dismiss us again. The Leviathan is not a plea. It is a promise. He turned without waiting for dismissal. His guards followed, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Above Aurelian Prime, the massive human battleship drifted, silent and alone, yet exuding the presence of an entire fleet. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy remembered the name of Earth. And far across the stars, in the dark war rooms of the Phyrexian Dominion, a High Imperator's claws clenched as he whispered a single command. Burn them. Commander Elias Kane stood in the Leviathan's command deck, staring out at the endless stars. The council session replayed in his mind, the mockery, the disbelief, the fear buried beneath their words. None of it mattered now. The message had been sent. Humanity was no longer invisible. The bridge lights were low, consoles glowing with quiet efficiency. His officers moved with calm precision, each trained for the singular purpose of keeping this impossible vessel alive. Years of secrecy and sacrifice had forged not just a ship, but a crew willing to die before surrender. Kane's voice broke the silence. Status of Sol defenses? Outer stations at Mars and Titan report readiness. Lieutenant Harrow answered. Civilian traffic lockdown. Colonies have been warned, but panic is spreading. It would. The Dominion wasn't sending raiders this time. They were sending executioners. Kane clasped his hands behind his back, steadying the surge of anger. He remembered another time, another invasion. Decades earlier, when he had been a young officer, Earth's first extrasolar colonies had been overrun. The Phyrexians had called it a disciplinary raid. Settlements burned, populations enslaved. Humanity cried for aid from the Council, but none came. Every plea had been ignored. To the galaxy, humans were expendable. Those scars had never faded. Instead, they had been channeled into resolve. Out of the ashes, the Leviathan had been built in orbit around Jupiter, its skeleton assembled in secret shipyards disguised as mining platforms. Every weapon, every shield, every alloy carried the weight of survival. The memory hardened him. Inform Earth Command. We intercept before the Dominion reaches orbit. The bridge acknowledged, voices crisp, no hesitation. They all knew the stakes. Far across the stars, High Imperator Xyrix stood within the throne chamber of the Dominion flagship. The chamber was carved from black stone and lit with molten veins that pulsed like blood. His form was massive, armored scales glinting in the dim light, claws tapping against command dais. His counselors bowed low, none daring to meet his eyes. Report, Xyrix demanded. His voice carried the weight of centuries, cruel and commanding. A sub-commander stepped forward, trembling. The humans revealed a warship at the council. Massive tonnage. Armament readings are unclear. Unclear? Xyrix snarled, tail lashing. The air itself seemed to tremble. High Imperator. The Leviathan's design is unfamiliar. Their technology has advanced beyond projected models. We estimate decades of hidden development. Xyrix bared his fangs. Vermin do not hide. Vermin are exterminated. His claws raked against the dais. Sparks flying. They dare bring their creation before the galaxy as if they are equals. This is not defiance. It is insult. The chamber fell silent as he rose to his full towering height. Mobilize the fleet. I want Sol reduced to ash. Not a single city left standing. Humanity's memory will be erased from the stars. The counselors bowed deeper, voices trembling. As you command, High Imperator. Xyrix's gaze lingered on the hollow projection of the Leviathan. For the first time in centuries, he felt a flicker of unease. It was a ship meant not for defense, but for vengeance. Yet arrogance smothered doubt. One ship, no matter how powerful, could not stand against a Dominion armada. He would prove it. Back aboard Leviathan, Kane walked the length of the observation deck. Earth hung far below, a fragile blue sphere that had endured centuries of neglect and scars from old wars. Every decision he made now would decide if that world had a future. A junior officer approached. "Sir, council chatter indicates some species argue for intervention. Others hope we fall." Kane allowed himself a bitter smile. Of course they do. If humanity rises, the balance shifts. Empires built on the backs of lesser species would tremble. The officer hesitated, then asked quietly, "Do you think anyone will stand with us?" Kane looked down at Earth, lights glittering across the night side. "They won't. Not yet. Fear rules them more than justice. But it doesn't matter. We've never waited for permission to survive." He dismissed the officer and turned back to the window. His reflection stared back. A man hardened by battles no one had cared to remember, carrying the weight of a species too stubborn to die. That night, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. Panic threaded every word. "They brought a battleship into neutral orbit," shouted one delegate. "The Dominion is already mobilizing," countered another. "We cannot be dragged into a war because humans want to play empire." "They survived extermination attempts we sanctioned," hissed the Valen envoy. "Perhaps we underestimated them." The chamber erupted in argument. Some demanded sanctions against Earth. Others, quietly, wondered if humanity's defiance was exactly what the galaxy needed. In the middle of it all, Kane stood again at the podium, unflinching as accusations were hurled his way. "Commander Kane," the chair demanded, "you provoked the Dominion's wrath. Do you expect the Council to fight your war?" "No," Kane said simply. "We expect nothing from you. We never have. When the Dominion comes, it will be humanity that answers, not for conquest, not for pride, for survival." The chamber stilled at his words. For a moment, no one laughed. No one scoffed. They saw something in him that unsettled them more than Leviathan. Conviction. Hours later, aboard his private quarters, Kane studied a data slate. Reports of the Dominion fleet's movement scrolled across the display. Dozens of warships converging on Sol, engines burning hot. He thought of the colonies lost decades ago, of families taken, of promises broken, and he thought of his daughter, safe on Earth, unaware that an empire was bearing down on her world with the intent to erase it. He set the slate aside and stared into the darkness. "Let them come," he whispered. "They've forgotten who we are. We'll remind them." The stars lit with fire. Dominion warships cut across the void like predators, their formation tight, their weapons arrays glowing with murderous intent. At the center of their spearhead loomed the flagship Harbinger, a vessel of obsidian hull plating, its spines pulsing with reactor heat. Thousands of smaller escorts fan around it, each one bristling with plasma cannons and missile racks. From Earth's orbit, the Leviathan moved to intercept. Commander Kane stood on the bridge, calm as stone. He could feel the weight pressing down on every officer, the awareness that Sol itself hung behind them, vulnerable, waiting. This was no border raid. It was annihilation. "Contact in 3 minutes," Lieutenant Harrow reported, his voice tight but steady. "Bring the rail batteries online," Kane ordered. "Lock missile silos 2 through 12. Plasma lances charged and ready." "Aye, sir." All systems green. The Leviathan hummed, its massive reactors pushing power into weapons and shields. Across the hull, segmented armor plates shifted, exposing hidden turrets and launch bays. This was what it had been built for. On the Dominion flagship, High Imperator Xyrix leaned forward in his throne, eyes narrowing as a lone human warship appeared on his tactical display. "One vessel," he scoffed. "This is their champion? This toy?" The bridge crew gave nervous glances but said nothing. They had learned long ago not to question him aloud. "Burn it," Xyrix commanded. "Show the vermin what it means to defy the Dominion." The first exchange tore the silence apart. Bright lances of plasma ripped across the void, hundreds of Dominion ships opening fire at once. Beams converge on Leviathan shields, warheads streaking like falling stars. Space lit in violent flashes. Brace. Harrow barked. The Leviathan shook, shields flaring as the incoming barrage slammed against them. Blue ripples surged across the barrier, energy bleeding off into the void. Warning sirens flickered, but the shields held. Kane didn't flinch. Return fire. All rail batteries. Firing. The Leviathan's broadside lit up, 10 rail cannons thundering in perfect sequence. Hypersonic slugs tore from their barrels, each the size of a shuttle. They crossed kilometers in seconds, punching to the nearest Dominion frigates. 2 ships folded instantly, their cores rupturing in spectacular bursts. Confirmed kills, a tactical officer called. 6 enemy vessels destroyed, more crippled. The bridge erupted with restrained relief, but Kane raised a hand. Don't celebrate yet. Reload and fire again. Xyrix snarled as enemy icons blinked out on his display. Impossible. No single ship can wield such firepower. High Imperator, a sensor officer stammered. Its mass readings, they're beyond standard classifications. It dwarfs even our dreadnoughts. Xyrix slammed a clawed fist into the arm of his throne, then drowned in fire. I want its carcass dragged through their skies. The Dominion formation shifted, squadrons peeling away to flank. Fighters screamed forward, swarming the Leviathan like hornets. Enemy wings approaching fast, Harrow reported. Hundreds of craft, targeting our weapons arrays. Deploy interceptors, Kane ordered. From hidden bays, the Leviathan unleashed its own squadrons, sleek, angular craft painted obsidian black, armed with coil guns and missiles. They knifed through the swarms, tearing enemy formations apart in brutal dogfights. Space erupted in scattered flashes as fighters collided, spiraling debris lighting Earth's sky like false constellations. Still, numbers pressed hard. Enemy craft broke through, hammering the Leviathan's shields. One barrage slipped past, striking an outer hull plate. The deck shuddered. Minor breach on lower section 7. An officer called. Automated repair systems engaged. Kane's jaw tightened, but his voice never wavered. Bring plasma lances to bear. Target their heavy cruisers. The Leviathan's ventral bays opened. 6 enormous cannons swiveled, glowing with condensed fury. Fire. Blinding beams of plasma cut through the void. They struck Dominion cruisers head-on, shearing through armor as if it were paper. Explosions rippled in waves, each detonation tearing through formations and throwing debris across the battlefield. Enemy losses rising, Harrow said, unable to hide on his tone. Dozens destroyed. Their line is faltering. Good, Kane replied coldly. Keep pressure. Don't let them regroup. On the Harbinger, chaos mounted. They're cutting through us, a commander cried. Entire squadrons gone. Silence. Xyrix roared, his tail whipping across the deck, striking the officer down. He bared his fangs, seething. Then I will end this myself. Charge the super cannon. Aim for their core. A low thrum vibrated through the flagship as its colossal weapon began to charge. Sir, Harrow said urgently, the Harbinger's main weapon is powering. If it fires... I see it. Kane cut in. His mind raced. That shot could annihilate them outright. He had one chance. Arm Nova. 3 warhead, he ordered. The bridge froze. Nova-class warheads were humanity's most dangerous secret. Singular antimatter payloads, never before used in battle. To deploy one was to risk destabilizing entire orbits. Commander, Harrow began cautiously, if it detonates too close. Then Earth dies anyway, Kane said. His eyes never left the tactical display. Target locked. Prepare to fire on my mark. The bridge went silent, except for the rising thrum of enemy power readings. On the Harbinger, the cannon reached full charge. Xyrix raised his claw. Fire! A blinding beam erupted, cutting toward a Leviathan like a blade of molten light. Now! Kane barked. The Leviathan launched a Nova 3. The warhead streaked into the void, a small, almost insignificant object against a massive beam. Then it detonated. For a heartbeat, Nothing. Then the void erupted in white fire. The antimatter warhead tore through the Dominion's beam, unraveling in a cascade of uncontrolled energy. The backlash surged straight into the Harbinger, overwhelming its shields. On Xyrix's bridge, alarms screamed as the flagship shuddered. Panels exploded, crew thrown across the deck. Xyrix roared in fury as arcs of fire tore across the command dais. The Harbinger did not die, but it staggered, wounded, its cannons silent. Enemy flagship disabled, Harrow reported, disbelief in his tone. They're pulling back, regrouping. The bridge exhaled as one, but Kane's eyes stayed hard. They'll be back, he said, and next time they'll bring more. He turned to the crew, his voice steel. Today we prove something. Humanity doesn't bow. Not to them. Not to anyone. Spread the word across Sol. Let every colonist, every child know we fight. The crew answered with a single word, shouted like thunder, Aye. Kane looked back to the wounded Dominion fleet, drifting in retreat. The battle was over, but the war had only begun. The wreckage drifted silently through the void, broken hulls tumbling against the backdrop of Earth's pale blue glow. Dozens of Dominion ships floated gutted, their twisted remains a monument to humanity's defiance. But where human eyes saw a victory, the galaxy saw something else entirely. Terror. In the orbiting council chambers of the Ketheri Concord, emissaries gathered in a rush. The news spread faster than light. The Dominion spearhead had been stopped by a single Terran warship. Delegates filled the circular chamber, their voices overlapping in a storm of disbelief. It is impossible, hissed a scaled Turnix representative, claws flexing nervously. The Dominion never falters. Yet they bled. A feathered envoy of the Valari leaned forward. Do you not understand? This changes everything. The humans have a weapon none of us predicted. The room broke into argument. Some called for alliance with the Terrans. Others whispered of preemptive strikes before such power spread. Fear was a powerful current, and in that chamber, fear was drowning reason. At the center of it all, Counselor Aaron of the Valari remained quiet. His gaze lingered on the battle footage replaying on the chamber's central hollow. The Leviathan, a dark titan against an ocean of fire, tearing Dominion ships apart. He understood the truth. Most refused to voice aloud. The balance has shifted, he murmured to himself. Meanwhile, deep within the Dominion flagship Harbinger, High Imperator Xyrix lay half buried beneath the wreckage of his throne. His scales were charred, his breathing ragged, but his rage burned brighter than the fires consuming his ship's interior. Withdrawn, he spat when his surviving commanders reported their retreat. You dare tell me we fled from cattle? No choice, Imperator, one captain said, bowing low. The human weapon, we could not counter it. Our forces would have been erased. Xyrix rose slowly, his towering form scarred but unbroken, his voice lowered into a growl that chilled even his most hardened warriors. Then we will not retreat. We will prepare. The next time we meet this Leviathan, I will shatter it before the eyes of its people. Let the galaxy watch their hope die. His claws clenched around the shattered arm of his throne. And I will burn their homeworld to ash. On the Leviathan, Commander Kane stood on the observation deck, watching debris fields drift past. The battle was won, but his mind allowed no celebration. Lieutenant Harrow joined him, exhaustion in every movement. We pushed them back, sir. Earth safe. For now. Kane didn't look away from the stars. Safe is a lie. That was only their vanguard. The Dominion will return, and they won't make the same mistake twice. Harrow exhaled slowly. Then what do we do? Kane's reflection in the glass looked carved from iron. We prepare for the war that's coming, and we make sure humanity isn't standing alone. The first ripple of fear reached Earth within hours. Every network blared the same images. Dominion ships breaking apart under Leviathan's guns, the antimatter flare lighting space like a second sun. To civilians, it was both exhilarating and terrifying. Crowds filled the streets, some chanting Kane's name as a hero, others demanding answers. How long had the military hidden such weapons, and what new storms would this provoke? In Geneva, the Earth Council convened an emergency session. Political factions erupted instantly. This escalation will bring the Dominion's full wrath, one delegate argued. We must sue for peace before retaliation arrives. Peace? Countered another. You think they came here for dialogue? They came to erase us. And one ship stopped them. Imagine what a fleet could do. At the head of the table, Chancellor Marek raised her hand for silence. Her face was pale, but her voice steady. The decision is not whether we fight. The decision is how we survive the war that has already begun. Her words settled over the chamber like cold iron. Far beyond Earth, in the shadow of gas giants and outer colonies, the Leviathan docked for resupply. The hangars buzzed with activity. Engineers patching scarred plating, medics treating wounded crew, drone swarms crawling across the ship like ants. Kane walked the corridors, speaking to soldiers and technicians alike. His presence was steady, grounding, but he carried the weight of every life lost in the battle. Chief Engineer Solari intercepted him near a cracked bulkhead. "We'll get her back in shape," she promised, wiping grease from her hands. But the Nova warhead... Kane, we only have 2 left. That kind of weapon can't be our answer every time. I know, Kane said. His tone was grim. Next battle. The Dominion will expect it. We need strategy, not miracles. In the quiet hours of night cycle, Kane sat alone in his quarters. Reports covered his desk. Casualty lists, damage tallies, intercepted transmissions. But it wasn't data that haunted him. It was faces. The young ensign vaporized when a plasma bolt struck Section 7. The fighter pilot, who didn't make it back. Civilians on Earth looking to the stars, believing the Leviathan was invincible. He whispered into the silence, more to himself than anyone else. We are not invincible, but we will make them bleed for every step they take. Across the galaxy, signals flashed, warnings carried on encrypted channels. Neutral races that had long kept their distance now spoke in hushed tones. Some saw opportunity in the Dominion's stumble. Others feared humanity's rise even more. Alliances shifted in the shadows. And within Dominion space, Xyrex gathered as warlords. The chamber burned with torchlight as he rose before them, scarred and furious. The humans believe they have wounded us, he declared, voice echoing against the iron walls. But I tell you this. Their victory was nothing but borrowed time. I will bring a fleet so vast their skies will drown in fire. Their Leviathan will be broken, their leaders crucified, their cities turned to cinders. The warlords roared their ascent, slamming fists against armor. The room shook with their fury. Back on Earth, Chancellor Marek addressed the planet. Her voice carried across networks, into homes, into colonies light years away. Yesterday we faced annihilation, she said. And yesterday, humanity stood unbroken. But the Dominion will come again, stronger than before. This is no longer a question of defense. It is a question of survival. She paused, letting silence drive the weight of her words. To survive, we must unite. To endure, we must fight. And to fight, we will stand behind the Leviathan and every soldier who carries humanity's banner. The galaxy is watching us. Let them. We will not cower. We will not kneel. We are Terran. The speech echoed through cities and colonies alike, igniting fire in hearts that had long feared humanity's insignificance. On Leviathan's bridge, Kane received the transmission in silence. Around him, crew members straightened with renewed resolve. Harrow glanced at him. The galaxy wanted to see Earth tremble. Instead, they saw us rise. Kane nodded once. Then let's make sure they keep seeing it. Beyond the viewport, the stars stretched endlessly. Somewhere in that darkness, the Dominion gathered for vengeance. Kane's jaw set hard. He whispered, almost as a vow, "Let them come." The warning came first as a ripple across the stars. Outposts on the rim transmitted half-garbled distress signals before going silent. Entire stations cut off midscream. Then came the tremors in subspace, the kind of mass displacement only possible when an armada jumped as one. The Dominion was coming. Not a probing fleet this time, but vengeance forged into steel and fire. On the Leviathan's bridge, alarms flared. Tactical maps blossomed with red markers, until the screen looked drowned in blood. Lieutenant Harrow's voice was tight. Multiple warp signatures. Thousands of them. Estimated arrival 4 hours. The crew froze at the number. Even seasoned veterans who had stared death in the face felt their guts twist. Commander Kane leaned forward, studying the display. His face was carved into resolve. So this is it. They brought everything. Chief Engineer Solari muttered, "If they break through us, Earth won't stand a chance. They'll level the planet before dawn." Kane's voice cut through the tension like steel. "Then we don't let them break through." Earth itself braced for annihilation. Civil defense sirens wailed across cities. Families crowded into shelters hollow beneath mountains, while militias armed themselves with whatever weapons could be mustered. The council speeches no longer spoke of survival as an abstract goal. Now it was immediate, tonight determined tomorrow. In the orbital shipyards, every functional craft was pulled into the fight. Old destroyers, jury-rigged mining barges fitted with cannons, even civilian freighters strapped with missile racks. None could match the Leviathan, but Kane knew each ship mattered. Every gun meant one more Dominion vessel delayed, one more breath for Earth. The Dominion Armada arrived in a storm of light. Space tore itself open, and from the rift poured war. Their fleet stretched from horizon to horizon, a black ocean of armored hulls blotting out the stars. At the center loomed the Harbinger, newly reforged, its scars turned into cruel adornments. On its command throne, High Imperator Xyrix rose. His scaled chest heaved with fury, every scar a reminder of humiliation. His voice thundered to the command decks. "Burn them. Leave nothing but ashes where their world spins." The Dominion surged forward. On the Leviathan, the crew moved with machine precision. Fear buried under duty. Enemy formation tightening. Harrow called. "They're heading straight for Earth's orbit." "Then we hold the line here." Kane ordered. "Earth doesn't see that fleet unless it passes through us." The Leviathan shifted, engines glowing, hull plates gleaming under emergency lights. Around it, the ragtag Terran fleet formed a defensive ring, fragile against a Dominion wave, but defiant. The first clash was a cataclysm. Dominion dreadnoughts vomited plasma fire that scorched entire wings of Terran ships in seconds. Human destroyers broke apart under barrage. Crews incinerated before last transmissions could even be sent. But the Leviathan struck back. Its rail batteries tore through armor hulls like paper, spearing 3 warships with a single volley. The Nova cannons discharged, antimatter fury blooming across the void, swallowing entire formations in silent firestorms. The battlefield became a furnace, where every second burned lives by the thousands. In the chaos, Solari's voice cut through the comms. "Commander, starboard shield integrity's dropping. We can't take another barrage like that." "Then angle us into it," Kane barked. "Better we take the hit than Earth." The ship shuddered under impact, alarms shrieking as molten plasma raked across its flanks. Bulkheads buckled, fires erupted, but the Leviathan held. Its guns never stopped firing. Within the Harbinger, Xyrix leaned forward, eyes narrowing as a Leviathan silhouette blazed through his fleet. "There," he hissed. "The beast dares stand alone again." He pointed a claw at the view screen. "Bring us to it. I will kill their hope with my own hands." The Harbinger cut through the battle, Dominion warships peeling aside to clear its path. On the Leviathan's bridge, Harrow's voice was sharp. "Sir, the flagship is coming straight for us." Kane's jaw tightened. "Good. That's where we want him." The crew exchanged quick, grim glances. They knew what Kane intended. This wasn't just defense anymore. It was a duel. The 2 Titans collided in a storm of fire. The Harbinger unleashed wave after wave of superheated plasma, hammering the Leviathan's shields until the decks shook like earthquakes. In return, the Leviathan's guns spat ruin, tearing chunks of armor from the Dominion flagship, exposing its burning insides. Inside the chaos, Kane's voice remained steady. "Target their reactor conduits. Force them to bleed power." Every shot became precise, surgical. Dominion escorts tried to intervene, but Terran ships hurled themselves into their path, sacrificing everything to buy Kane the opening he needed. Then came the moment. Conduits breached. Solari shouted. "Now," Kane said. His eyes burned with absolute focus. "Fire the last Nova warhead." The missile launched, cutting through the battlefield like a dagger. Xyrix saw it coming. His claws clenched the throne's arms, his roar shaking the Harbinger. Intercepted. But Dominion defenses, already crippled, were seconds too slow. The warhead struck home. A star was born in miniature. The Harbinger convulsed, its armor peeling away as the antimatter flare ripped through its core. For a moment, the ship seemed to fight against its own death, holding together through sheer hatred. Then it shattered. The explosion lit the battlefield brighter than the sun. Dominion ships faltered, coordination collapsing as the command core was erasing fire. On Leviathan's bridge, silence fell as the glare faded. Only static remained on the comms. Harrow's voice broke first, hoarse with disbelief. "The flagship, it's gone." The crew didn't cheer. Not yet. They knew the Dominion still numbered in the hundreds. But as minutes dragged on, those ships began to retreat, scattering back into the void. Without their Imperator, they were a blade with no hand to wield it. Earth was alive. Hours later, the battered Leviathan drifted above the planet it had saved. Fire still burned in its decks. Casualties filled the med bays, and Kane stood on the bridge with exhaustion carved into his features. Harrow approached quietly. "We held them off. But at what cost?" Kane looked out at Earth, its oceans gleaming, clouds serene as if untouched by the war above. "At the cost of survival," he said softly. "And survival is enough for now." He turned to the crew, voices weary but alive around him. "This isn't the end. The Dominion will return. But today, the galaxy saw us stand, and they saw we would not break." Silence followed, not of fear, but of understanding. Humanity's war was only beginning. But tonight, Earth still spun, and that was victory.